The wind howled through the deserted coastline, its mournful cries echoing off the crumbling rocks as the last wisps of sunlight faded from the sky. The abandoned lighthouse, Siren's Rock, stood like a skeletal sentinel, its once proud tower now worn by the relentless assault of the sea and time. The locals whispered of its troubled past, of the keepers who had once tended the beacon, but now nothing remained but an eerie silence. The air was heavy with the scent of salt and decay as I stepped onto the windswept platform, the wooden planks creaking beneath my feet. Shadows danced across the walls, cast by the flickering lanterns that still clung to the lighthouse's exterior. I shivered, despite the thickness of my coat, as the cold air seemed to seep into my bones. As night fell, the darkness became almost palpable, the stars above hidden behind a veil of clouds that seemed to grow denser by the minute. I strained my ears to pick up any sound, but the only noise was the wind's mournful sighs, and the occasional creak of the lighthouse's wooden beams. The silence was oppressive, making me feel like I was being watched. I pushed open the creaking door and stepped into the musty darkness within. The air inside was stale and heavy, thick with the scent of rot and neglect. Cobwebs clung to the walls, casting macabre silhouettes against the faint moonlight that seeped through the grimy windows. I fumbled for my flashlight, casting a weak beam of light into the darkness. The stairs creaked beneath my feet as I climbed higher, each step echoing through the deserted tower. I felt like I was being drawn deeper into the heart of the lighthouse, into a world of darkness and madness. The shadows seemed to writhe and twist around me, like living things. I reached the top of the tower, where a single lantern still hung from the ceiling, casting an eerie glow over the cramped space. The keeper's quarters were a small, cluttered room, with a narrow bed and a single chair, surrounded by the detritus of years of isolation. I felt a shiver run down my spine as I realized I was not alone. Footsteps echoed through the tower, growing louder with each passing moment. I spun around, but saw nothing. The footsteps stopped, and an oppressive silence fell over the lighthouse once more. I strained my ears, but there was nothing. I was starting to think I had imagined the whole thing. But then, I heard it again. The footsteps, louder this time, and coming from the stairs. I felt a cold dread creeping up my spine as I realized that I was not alone in the lighthouse. Someone, or something, was coming for me. I turned to run, but my feet felt heavy, as if rooted to the spot. The footsteps grew louder, and I could feel the vibrations of footsteps through the floorboards. I was trapped, with no escape from the darkness that was closing in around me. And then, just as suddenly as it had started, the noise stopped. The silence was absolute, and I was left standing there, frozen with fear. I waited for what felt like an eternity, but there was nothing. No sound, no movement. Just silence. But as I turned to leave, I caught a glimpse of something out of the corner of my eye. A figure, standing just beyond the lantern's glow, watching me with cold, dead eyes. I spun around, but there was no one there. The figure was gone. But as I stumbled backwards, tripping over my own feet, I saw it again. The figure, standing in the shadows, its eyes fixed on me with an unblinking gaze. And then, as I fell, everything went black. When I came to, I was lying on the rocks below, the lighthouse looming above me like a monolith. And on the door, scrawled in blood, was a single word, "Welcome."